Oh, Robert.
Hello,
Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Hey, David, how the hell are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Hey, when are you going? When are you going down?
Let me think. 7 days, 6 hours, 30 minutes.
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice.
Should I just use your email as contact information for John down there?
Oh, yeah, I get it. I'll get everything. You
Okay.
can send
all
it
right.
to me or to Marianne. We get our emails down there. Has she contacted you?
She did several weeks ago, just after we talked.
Good.
Yeah.
Did she seem to understand what she was talking about or doing?
Oh, who's this? I'm maybe wrong.
Natasha.
No, she did not. I did not have contact with her.
Oh, God. All right. Sorry, she was supposed to have contacted you.
No, that's all right. Still time.
Yes, I know. I know. Oh, jeez. Have you played golf?
I got one round in so far.
Was it enjoyable? I'm sure it was.
Actually, it was. I was surprised not having played for about 7 months. I forgot a whole bunch of bad habits.
Yeah, it's kind of like in the beginning of the game when you tee off, you have like 4 really good holes,
Yeah.
and you're going, "Hey, I had this game down," and then all of a
Right.
sudden you get limber.
Yeah. And then somewhere towards the end, you run into that 17th hole.
Yes, when you're looking forward to the 19th.
Yes, exactly. And you're thinking you should have quit at 16.
Yes, and you're saying, what the hell's wrong with these people? Why didn't they just make golf like a front 7 and a back 7?
That's right. Exactly. Oh, God. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, how are you, gentlemen?
We're good.
Oh,
How are you
How are
doing?
you?
It's been a day, but it's been a week. We'll get there. It'll be Friday soon enough.
Have they restored water to the borough? Do you know?
Yeah, so we took advantage of some of the interconnections with Rawa and Pennsylvania American, but service has not been restored through Western Berks. I anticipate that's going to happen shortly. So unfortunately, everyone's under a boil water advisory for, at least 2 to 3 days.
Oh, geez.
Oh, lovely. I didn't even know about that. When did this happen?
This morning. I'll fill you in an executive session.
Oh, okay. All right.
I saw on the news there was a explosion.
Yeah, I'll fill you both in an executive session.
Okay. I see Kozlov Stout, but I don't see a face.
He's alive. I talked to him 2 hours ago.
Oh, there he is.
He pops up.
I'm walking in, and just getting my cup filled up.
You mean that thing that says Navy?
Of course.
David, that whole thing is readable.
What's that?
The application.
Oh, yeah, I know. I can get through it in 10 minutes. Oh.
Hi, everyone.
And Nigel.
Hi,
Hey,
Naj.
Najla.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine.
I haven't seen you in a long time.
No, I'm still recuperating from the last one. I just can't believe that guy.
Hmm,
He came after those businesses.
yeah,
Yeah, we should make sure we're not getting into that right now. This is a different.
Yeah, I know, it's the public. I talk generically.
generically. Okay. Do we have applicants yet?
Eric Kelly and Ryan Whitmore are two of the applicants. Greg Adelman, their attorney, just signed on.
Oh, okay, good.
Hi, good afternoon.
It's always
Hello.
good when the applicant shows up, yes.
Good afternoon.
That's very important. I apologize. I
Yeah.
thought I was right on time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Edelman.
Good afternoon.
It's been a
Mr.
while.
Becker, how are you? I see we're both growing beards.
I see that. That's COVID,
It's
right?
great to see
It's been a
you.
while.
Yes, I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
I got 3 o'clock. We ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. Let's call the Wyomissing Zoning Hearing Board to order. We're here today to hear from Mr. Greg Adelman on behalf of his clients, Berkshire Square Condominium Association LLC and Berkshire Square Investors LLC, owners of a property located at 1149 Berkshire Boulevard and identified by a tax parcel ID, who is requesting a variance from section 512, uses permitted by right from the Borough of Wyomissing zoning ordinance. Zoning issues are that somebody's got a hand right in the middle of there. The property is located on C2 Retail Commercial Zoning District. Property is identified as the Berkshire Square Shopping Center and is located on the northeast side of the intersection of State Hill Road and Berkshire Boulevard. Property is developed as a shopping center with multiple retail and restaurant tenants. The applicant is proposing to construct a Panda Express fast food restaurant with an associated drive-through or an out parcel within the overall property. Fast food restaurants are permitted by right in the C2 zoning district. Fast food restaurants with drive-through windows are not permitted, not a permitted use by right. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 512, uses permitted by right, to allow a drive-through window at the Panda Express restaurant. Prior variances were granted for the property in 1991, 2012, and 2015 for drive-through windows at Taco Bell and Burger King. These fast food restaurants continue to operate at the property. Okay. I would normally at this time, if we were sitting together, introduce people, but since we all have our names under our pictures, I don't think that's exactly necessary. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Becker to tell us how we're going to proceed today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rothwell. We have a pretty full house here this afternoon. And it appears there's a number of people who I'm not familiar with, so I'll assume they're here because they have an interest in what's happening with this particular hearing. I see at least 2 attorneys. I see Mr. Edelman. I understand you're representing the applicant this afternoon, and I see Ms. Barnett. I'm not sure if there's any other attorneys online yet or not. But let me go through the steps of how the hearing will be conducted today. First, because we're by Zoom, I ask that everybody who's not speaking, they mute their microphones. We have a tendency to get feedback and people stepping over each other, and that's inconvenient, makes it hard for us to hear and for the stenographer to take down the testimony. And you will see that we do have a stenographer that is taking down the testimony today. Because the applicant has filed this request for zoning relief, it is their burden of proof. I understand that Mr. Edelman is representing the applicant, and as a result, he will be leading the charge and conducting the testimony from his respective witnesses. He'll be able to present testimony and also documentary evidence and photographs and so forth as he deems appropriate to try to establish and meet his burden of proof, establishing why the relief that's being requested should be granted. At the conclusion of each witness, the board members and members who are also here participating from the public will have the opportunity to ask questions of the various witnesses. After all of Mr. Edelman's witnesses are complete, anybody who is here that has an interest, if they'd like to be a party, they need to let us know. If they're not interested in being a party, but just have a statement that they would like to make, they'll have that opportunity to tell us their position. After all testimony and statements have been made, the zoning hearing board will go into deliberations in an executive session. They usually are able to complete their executive session in the time allotted and render an oral decision. That does not always happen. We have 45 days in which to do that. But typically we'll come back and render an oral decision the same day. Does everybody here understand the process by which we intend to proceed this afternoon? And you can do that by either taking your phone off of mute and saying yes, or I'll direct it to Mr. Edelman first, since I know you're here representing somebody, Mr. Edelman, and you and your client understand the process.
Yes, Mr. Becker, thank you.
And while I'm talking, Ms. Barnett, I see that you're here. Are you here on behalf of a client, or are you just here to interested to see what's going on? Jana? If you're saying something, Jana, you're muted. Maybe you're not here, since I have not heard from her. What we will, does anybody else have any questions about how we're going to proceed? Hearing none, then I think that we will continue with the hearing. And Mr. Chairman, I turn it back over to you.
All right, I think we're got everything in order. And at this point, Mr. Alderman, it's your show, yours to proceed.
Great, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone, members of the board. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, who is the condominium association affiliated with the Berkshire Square Shopping Center. We're here this afternoon for a variance for, as was stated, a drive-through in connection with a Panda Express restaurant. I have here with me this afternoon Mr. Ryan Whitmore. He's our project engineer, and I guess I would need him sworn at this time prior to him testifying.
And what we typically do is we swear all the witnesses at the same time. So if you have other witnesses, we'll get them all sworn together.
I do have Mr. Eric Kelly here, who's a representative of the landowner. I don't know if he's going to testify or not. He may need to answer some questions if the board has any. So I'd also ask him to be sworn at this time as well.
All right, and while we're doing that, I know Michelle will at some point provide some testimony as well. So why don't we at least have those three individuals sworn?
All right, please raise your right hand. And I'm sorry, I cannot see all of you, so I'm assuming that everybody has their hand raised. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please answer with I will.
I will.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And may I ask, is Melissa sharing the screen with all of the exhibits, or do I have the ability to share the screen with?
Melissa will share the screen. You can direct her where you would like to go. And ultimately, if you need to have the cursor, we can share the cursor with you.
Great, thank you. So Melissa, if we could start with Exhibit A1, which is Mr. Whitmore's resume, and I'd like to call him to testify. I don't think it's attached to the application. I had submitted my exhibits in advance to Michelle.
She has them. Melissa, keep going. Should be after all of this.
There it is. Great.
Yep, there it is.
Thank you very much. Mr. Whitmore, if you could please state your name and business address for the record.
Ryan Thomas Whitmore, and our address is 12 West Willow Grove Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and by whom are you employed and in what capacity?
I work for Landcore Engineering Consultants, PC, as a senior project manager.
Okay, and are you a licensed or registered professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd like to ask the board to take notice of Mr. Whitmore's expert qualifications as a civil engineer based upon his resume that's marked as Exhibit A1, and ask that he be qualified as such an expert.
I think I speak for the board that he's qualified.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. If I could move to Exhibit A2, please.
What is A2, Greg?
So A2.
Oh, so this is it right here?
Yes,
I just want to make sure we're getting to the right page, that's all.
Right, yeah, I think they're all in order. If we could zoom out though. Yeah. Okay, great. And just to make this move a little quicker, I'm going to have Mr. Whitmore testify in more of a narrative format. To the extent that the board would like me to break down on specific questions or topics, I'm happy to ask them of the witness, or you can ask directly. But Mr. Whitmore, if you could generally please describe what is shown on Exhibit A2 and what the nature of the proposed Panda Express project is.
Sure. So A2 is just an overall site plan. You can see the thick yellow border that represents the overall tract boundary. It's about just under 33 acres in size. So A2 is just the overall site plan. You can see the aerial imagery in the background, so you can see the exact picture of what the land use is within the center now. And then over top of that, right in the middle of the tract is where the proposed pad restaurant with the drive-through and the associated site improvements are right where they're being proposed.
Okay, Mr. Whitmore, overall, how much parking is on the property and how much would exist post Panda Express development?
Overall, the application is going to propose a net decrease in parking. So there's about 1,554 parking stalls that exist on the property today. And then as part of the proposed application, there will be a net decrease in parking of 47 parking stalls. However, when you compare that against what the code requires, there's going to be left with 159 parking stall surplus. So even after the net decrease of parking, the available overflow parking is more than adequate to satisfy the needs of not just the proposed Panda Express restaurant, but also the existing uses that are within the rest of the shopping center.
Great, thank you. If we could blow up the area of the Panda Express together with the surrounding out parcels, please, on Exhibit A2. Great, thank you, that's perfect. Whoop, here we go. Ryan, if you could please tell the board, how will the Panda Express restaurant function with its drive-through in comparison or in relation to the other existing out parcels? And if you could identify those existing out parcels as well for the board.
Yeah, so you can see where the proposed Panda Express will be located. It'll be the fourth drive-through establishment, that will be in the shopping center. So working your way, counterclockwise around sort of the pad development corner of the property. The Panda is right in the crotch of the L of the kind of where the main drive aisle, the main access drive separates the main parking field of the retail center from the pad development corner of the property. So the Panda Express is in the kind of top right of the pad corner. To the left, working your way counterclockwise to the left is where the Burger King is located. That has its own drive-through that, traffic will circulate in a counterclockwise direction around the Burger King. With the order station, it's going to be on the plan left side of the Burger King, wraps around, the queue wraps around the bottom, and then you pick up on the right side of the Burger King. And then continuing down counterclockwise from Burger King, that's the Tompkins Bank. That's a bank with multiple drive-through lanes. Then continuing over to the right of Tompkins Bank is the existing Taco Bell. That's a fast food restaurant with a drive-through use as well.
Okay, and looking at where all the drive-through accesses enter and exit, could you please tell the board whether you feel this internal site circulation is adequate and safe?
I do. Just in the existing condition, just by way of just the sheer separation of the pad, and the drive-through uses, in comparison with the kind of the anchor store, the anchor parking field and the strip retail segment and component of the center, just the locations of the existing drive-throughs is appropriate, being that they're separated from the kind of the strip retail center. And with the location of where the Panda Express is proposed on the development, it's going to be located primarily within the existing parking. And as you can see, the separation between each of the pad sites, and each of the pad sites will be separated by whether it's either a drive aisle, multiple drive aisles, combined with additional bays of parking. So each of the individual drive-through uses, as I previously explained, they can function independently and efficiently and circulate into, through, and out of the pad areas as needed, during their operational hours.
Great, thank you, Ryan. If we could go to exhibit, I think it's A3, should be the existing conditions plan. Great, thank you. And Ryan, if you could identify what's been marked as Exhibit A3?
Yeah, this is the existing conditions plan that's really zoomed in very closely on the Panda Express pad area. As you can see, it's just primarily parking that will be replaced by the proposed use and the site improvements. So on the top and right side of the plans, you can see that that's the main circulation aisle that I had previously mentioned. Yeah, that separates the main parking field from the proposed pad development area.
Okay, and is at the top also the entrance in and out, the drive aisle that leads to the entrance to the shopping center?
That's correct. Yeah, actually on both the top and the right side. So the top side, the drive aisle that's on the top of the plan, that's the main access drive that comes in off of State Hill. And then on the right-hand side of the plan that goes, in the up-down direction, that's what comes in and out of the Berkshire Boulevard main access drive.
Great. Okay, if we could go to Exhibit A4, please. Great, thank you very much. And Ryan, if you could please tell the board what's being depicted on Exhibit A4.
Yeah, so A4 is similar to A3 in that it's the existing. You can see the existing conditions, but where the proposed use and site improvements will replace the existing conditions.
Okay, and if you could go over, if you could go over in detail, Ryan, the proposed Panda Express project development, the parking, building size area, et cetera, so the board has all of the details. Yep.
So the application, proposes, I think we'll know it's a Panda Express restaurant with a drive-through use. There's a 2,300, it's the Panda Express restaurant will be 2,390 square feet in size. The application is going to propose to remove 47 parking spaces. However, there will be new parking created. That's going to be on the right side of the Panda, or I guess that's going to be the north side. And on the exhibit, north orientation is in the direction of the top right corner of the plan. So there's going to be available parking that's proposed on the east or on the north side of the building. And then there's just going to be the existing restriped parking that is going to be right along the I'll call it the main front side of the Panda Express, which that's on the bottom side, bottom side. So if I'm going to if I'm coming in off of let's say Berkshire Boulevard, so the access drive that's on the right side of the plan. So if I'm going from bottom to top, coming up from Berkshire Boulevard, I'm going to pass the Taco Bell on my left-hand side, and then I'm going to make a left into really just the main drive aisle that brings me right across the front of the restaurant. So I can either pull in and park, or I can make a right and access the drive-through queue, where you can work your way along the kind of the right side of the Pan Express building. You meet the order point right there where the hand was. That's the order point. And then you continue through the drive-through queue to the pickup window. That's right there, right where the hand is. And then pick up your food, continue through the queue, and you exit out to that main, I'll call it the main drive aisle that runs along the front side of the Panda. And you're free to go wherever you want at that point. You can exit the same way you came in, or you can work your way to another part of the center or exit out onto State Hill Road.
Okay, and Brian, approximately how many cars can fit in the drive-through queue?
Approximately 8.
Okay, and if those could be highlighted, I don't know how you could indicate those to the board.
Yeah, so starting at the pickup station, right there where the cursor is, so you can see that there's black lines. So you can see that the tan color that represents concrete pavement. So there's going to be the way that the concrete pavement is going to be constructed. There's going to be really just joints, in between the slabs of concrete, and you can see that those are the black marks. So those coincidentally represent the length of a car that can be measured in the drive-through stack. So if you count each one of those rectangles, those shapes that are in the drive-through stack, that adds up to about 8 parking stalls. So if you want to start right at the pickup window, and we'll just count them right here. So start there, going from left to right. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, well, it's going to be 9. It's going to be, which is more than 8. But
Great.
the drive-through stack will be approximately 180 feet in length.
Okay. And what additional parking is being provided, and where is that located?
So the parking right along the main frontage, the main.
So Ryan, just because this is being transcribed, and I'm not able to ask you to mark the exhibit with numbers and letters and all kinds of good stuff. Please try to be as descriptive as you possibly can as to the different pieces. When you're talking about the hand, when I'm going to write the decision later, we won't be able to see the hand anymore. So if you can just try to be as descriptive as you can with directions and locations. So for instance, just for clarification for the record, the pickup window that you described is in the upper left corner of the building that's marked Panda Express and has the dotted lines. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so if you can kind of just do that, Mr. Edelman, if you can just help him with that as we're going
Sure.
through. I'm sure you understand why I'm asking.
Absolutely. So Ryan, as you were discussing and describing the parking in the front of the building that's located in the lower right-hand side of the building or the southeastern portion of the building, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and if you could highlight the spaces and the general orientation of the spaces along the building frontage, please.
Yeah, so the main spaces that are right along the where you described, Greg. Yeah, those are essentially going to be restriped existing asphalt spaces, and those will be really just the primary parking stalls for any of the dine-in patrons of the restaurant. And if you work your way to the north side, the north section of the pad development, right there. There is a new, that is existing pavement. That's an existing parking area. However, that section of the parking lot will be reconfigured and restriped to accommodate the new circulation pattern. So really, it's creating an overflow parking area that, for the most part, will be for the designated patrons of the Panda Express,
Okay.
where they won't be restricted in that way. However, just pure proximity of those parking stalls, that's the purpose of them.
And how many spaces are located directly in the front of the building, and then how many spaces are located in that area of parking in the northeast corner of exhibit, I think it's A4?
Michelle, if you can just zoom in, just so we can see those parking tags. Yes, there's 12 that will be right along the main storefront of the Panda Express. And then there will be 15 stalls in the overflow parking area that's to the north of the Panda Express. That's the gray shaded parking area on the pad.
Okay. In addition to the parking improvements and some of the restriping, are there also landscaping improvements proposed as part of the overall development?
Yes. Yeah, as part of the overall development, there will be about a net decrease of about 2,000 square feet of impervious. So that's just where the development is going to create new green space opportunity for landscaping improvements, which, as you can see on the exhibit, there's the landscaping that's been proposed on the landscaping plan. It's superimposed on top of the site plan, so you can really get a good idea for what the visual aesthetic improvement for the overall development will be.
Okay, and are there any stormwater improvements associated with the project?
There will be some drainage improvements, yes, and really that's just for to make sure that there's positive drainage, that will be part of the overall development. Just making sure that there will be no trapped drainage in any parts of the pad. So as part of the net decrease in impervious, that incidentally acts as the stormwater management, where you're really removing the source of the runoff, by removing as you're removing the pavement. So really that's probably the best form of stormwater, just by way of removing the source that the stormwater can be generated off of.
Okay. Are there any outdoor eating areas proposed as part of the Panda Express restaurant?
Yeah, on the south side of the restaurant, so it's on plan left. So it's really in between the proposed building and the drive-through aisle and the drive-through lane.
Okay, and then lastly, how will the trash removal be handled with respect to the proposed restaurant?
The trash enclosure, it's going to be a decorative trash enclosure that's on the north side of the proposed restaurant. And the trash removal, that's going to be, that's going to be accommodated during off-peak hours. And the trash trucks can access, by way of they'll pull in from the bottom side of the trash enclosure and empty the trash, pull in and pull out of the pad the same way that any patrons at the restaurant will access or exit the pad areas.
Okay. And lastly, I believe you had previously testified about the other drive-throughs immediately adjacent to the proposed restaurant, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and are you aware that those drive-throughs received the same variance requests from this board at prior occasions?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to show you what I've marked as exhibits. I believe it's A5 and A6. And are these the copies of the prior zoning decisions with respect to those drive-through variance approvals?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's A5, and I believe A6 is the other one. There it is, A6. Great.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I have nothing further for Mr. Whitmore at this time, and I'd open him up to questions from the board.
Mr. Whitmore, the access for patrons to dine in, I don't think you pointed that out.
Go back to, I guess, yeah, 4. Perfect. Exhibit A4.
Yeah, so A4, if you look at the bottom left corner of the building, you can see that there's a man door that swings open on, so I guess that'll be on the southern corner of the proposed building. So that's really going to be the closest proximity to those main parking stalls that'll be right along the storefront on the southern side of the building.
If we could zoom out a little bit more on exhibit A4. Okay, so it's right by the ADA stripes spaces, Ryan, is that correct?
That's correct.
The doors on the north side, there, it seems to be depicting doors on the north side. Yes.
Yeah, so the north side, the north side is going to look very similar to the south side, to the southern facade. However, that's more the service area, the service, anybody who's taking out the trash, any loading operations.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I don't.
Okay. Mr. Becker.
I do. Mr. Whitmore, and I'm not sure if you're the right guy for this or if Mr. Kelly will be, but do you know the hours of operation?
I can answer that, Dan. Generally, it's 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., but they haven't been set yet for this store.
Is that for the drive-through as well as for the
Yes, that's my
restaurant
understanding.
itself? So the drive-through and the eat-in is the same hours?
That's my understanding. And that would be Sunday through Saturday, 7 days a week. They may vary it during some times of the weekdays. It may be closing at 9:30, but I haven't gotten any set word, so I would give you 11 to 10.
Next question, Mr. Whitmore, has this project, or has it gone through land development, or is it going through land development?
It's going through land development now. We received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission last week, conditioned upon the Borough Engineers Review Letter and a favorable decision from the Zoning Hearing Board for the use.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Edelman, I assume you have another witness.
Before we do that,
Sure.
I guess we should ask if anybody else that's here has any questions for this witness.
I forget there are other people.
Yes.
I
So
can't see them. Is there anybody in the group that has a question for Mr. Whitmore? All right. No response. So, Mr. Edelman?
And Ms. Barnett, by the way, just so you guys know, in the chat, Ms. Barnett said she has no questions, and she indicated that she's here to observe today.
Thank you. I actually don't have another witness to call. I had Mr. Kelly sworn just in case the board had some questions with respect to the ownership, if there was any related issues that arose. So I actually don't have any further testimony.
I have
for the emissions of my exhibits, unless there's anything further from the board.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to present anybody that talked about the business itself, but just a general overall Panda Express is doing what, and particularly what percentage of the business is drive-through versus dine-in. And I know that's a little difficult at this time, but typically.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer to your question with respect to the business operations. We were hoping, I don't know if one of the Panda representatives is on. I'm not sure. Let me see.
Well, I can certainly ask. Is there anybody here that's with Panda Express that's here on the call today? I see no one, Greg.
Right.
Okay.
So, I mean, I certainly can get the answer to the board, but we don't have the specific breakdown. Panda Express is actually it's like an Asian fusion type restaurant. Primarily, their genesis was inside airports, and they have over the last 10 plus years moved to standalone stores and operations. And obviously, they're primarily a drive-through restaurant, and their hours are geared towards lunch and dinner. And late dinner. Their eat-in area is not overly substantial, so they really do rely upon quick pickups or drive-through traffic. So that's their primarily their business model.
Okay, that's fine. It was a matter of curiosity rather than serious detail.
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Edelman, do you have anything else further for the board?
I have nothing further for the board this afternoon.
Board members, any questions?
I don't.
Okay. Mr. Becker, then can we move on to housekeeping?
Yes, sir. At this time, the board would like to have Michelle Bear actually take the stand here. And let's put on your hat, Michelle, as the zoning officer for the borough of Wyomissing. What are your duties and responsibilities?
As the zoning officer, I prepared a memo addressed to the zoning hearing board dated April 27th of 2021, summarizing the application and the relief requested.
Do you have a copy of that with you or as part of the exhibits that will be presented today?
I do.
We'll mark those as board exhibit number 1. As a zoning officer, do you have any further information regarding this particular applicant or application or applicant?
Just to confirm what Mr. Whitmore stated about the project being reviewed by the Planning Commission at their meeting last week. Council actually approved conditional plan approval at their meeting last evening, subject to McCarthy Engineering's review letter and a favorable request or a favorable granting of the variance request from the board.
Thank you. Changing positions now, Michelle, in your capacity as a secretary for the zoning hearing board, what are your duties and responsibilities?
I prepared a public notice that was posted on the subject property on April 19th of 2021 at approximately 12:30 p.m. That same notice was mailed to all adjacent property owners within 300 feet, including Spring Township properties, on April 19th of 2021, also at approximately 12:30 p.m. and was advertised in the Reading Eagle on April 28th and May 5th of 2021.
And do you have that information with you today as well?
I do.
Mark that as board exhibit number 2. Do you have, in your capacity as the secretary for the zoning hearing board, do you have any further information that's relevant for this particular application?
I did receive 3 calls after the public notice went out from a representative of the BTI property, the owner of 1736 Colony Drive, and a representative of the shopping center that houses Starbucks, Tower Health Urgent Care along State Hill Road, questioning what the application was asking for when I explained the project and that it was for the drive-through portion of the Panda Express. They all had no issue with the relief, and obviously none of them are part of today's hearing.
One more question, Michelle. What zoning ordinance is in effect at the time of this application?
The one that was printed in November of 2018.
And we'll mark that as a board exhibit 3, but we're not moving for its admission today. Do you have anything further for the board to consider today, Michelle?
I do not.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, I turn it back over to you.
I think at this point, we can recess into an executive session. I think if we set a time of 3:50 to return to the public meeting. Would that suit everybody?
Fine with me, Mr. Chairman.
So what will happen here, folks, is everybody's going to have to exit because we have the one account, so you're going to have to all log off. We're going to then go on to an executive session, and we'll all log back on to the same link that you're on currently at 3:50. Everybody understand?
Yes.
One last matter of housekeeping before we do that. I believe Mr. Edelman did move for his admission. I think I heard him say that. I don't
Yeah,
think we
correct.
took action. So if we could just all look for a motion to approve the admission of all exhibits, both board and Mr. Edelman's exhibits.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved. All right, thank you. All right, so
Thank
we're going to go into the executive session. We'll see you folks back here at 3:50.
Thank you very much.
We need Mr. Ullman and we're ready to go.
Here it is.
Do we have Bob?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, didn't see you. All right, good. We'll call the meeting of the Wyomissing Zoning Hearing Board back to order. And Mr. Ullman, I'm going to rely on you to make a motion.
I move that we grant the request of Berkshire Square Condominium Association and Berkshire Square Investors for a variance from section 512, uses permitted by right from the Borough of Wyomissing zoning ordinance, subject to the terms and the conditions which we placed on the record by our solicitor.
Those conditions will be as follows. The hours of operation for the restaurant and the drive-through it should be no different than, no earlier than 6 a.m. and no later than midnight, Sunday through Thursday, and they shall not be earlier than 6 a.m. or later than 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday. That the applicant will comply with all the terms and conditions of the borough and the recommendations of the planning commission the borough has adopted. That the applicant will comply with all the regulations, federal, state, local laws, rules, regulations, including the zoning ordinance. The applicant will obtain and pay for all permits that are necessary for the work that's going to be completed. The applicant will also be bound by all testimony that's been presented today. And finally, the applicant will commence, this relief will be expire within 1 year after if it's not been commenced, construction is not commenced on the construction of the project within 1 year. Jeez, that was bad.
You're out of
Last one was,
practice,
you
Dan.
have to start construction within 1 year or the relief expires. How's that? Make
There
it
you go.
clear.
As long as Mr. Edelman understood that, we're all right, I
Yeah.
think.
I understood that, and I would know where to get clarification
Yeah,
from it. if I did.
he and I have had enough battles over the years. Certain where to fall.
I have 1 year.
Yeah, that's right. You
That's what
got-
I heard.
You have 1 year, you got it. That's right.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I would.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. The relief is granted.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. It was nice to see everyone.
Good luck. Good seeing you, Greg.
Good luck.
You too.
Thank
Take
you
care.
for an efficient presentation. It's always appreciated.
My pleasure. Thanks again for your time, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Take
Yeah.
care. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll see you all in a few minutes at the next meeting.
Yeah, 6 minutes.
Thank you.
6 minutes. Okay. All right.